I guess to be greeted by a youngster when you get to the door and the excitement and their pleasure in their eyes, that's something that really is a telling story. I would love something outside of the school curriculum that could offer children.
Every day, there are disadvantaged children in the community that are facing challenges that most of us can't even imagine. And right now, there's a chance that everyday people like you can change the course of their lives for the better. In this episode, I'm joined by a special guest, Neil King, who shares insights about his involvement with the local charity Connect Kids, which is proving that a conversation or a bit of guidance is making all the difference. Now, if you've ever thought about stepping up to make a real impact, then stick around. This one's for you. Hey guys, thanks again for tuning back in. And today I'm here in beautiful Caloundra, where I am so honored to be joined by a special guest, Neil King, who is a mentor for a local charity that's proving that a simple conversation or a bit of guidance can help change lives for the better. And if you're wondering how you can step up and make an impact, then please stick around and hear what he has to share with us today. But before we dive in, as always, the round table symbolizes a safe space where stories are shared, voices heard, and lessons learnt. So if you're out on a walk, or chilling out on your couch, or sipping on tea or coffee with loved ones out on the deck, then settle in, because every story shared here matters. Neil, welcome to the round table.
Thank you. It is a real pleasure to be here, and I'm really excited about it. And just looking at some of the names on the table, I feel really humble and an honour to be, almost in the company of these people. So thank you for inviting me.
Before we kind of dive in, do you mind, just for our listeners and the viewers, just sharing a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure, not a problem. So I guess, where do I start? I mean, the easiest thing is to go back to when I was born, but I'll obviously chop a few bits out in between, otherwise it will be a long introduction. So look, I was actually born in Germany. I was a son of a British military parents, and so spent a lot of time overseas, and then sort of moving school every 3 years. I'm one of three brothers, so I've got an older and a younger brother, and went to boarding school at the age of 11 in the UK, got an education there, went to university, and then I emigrated in 2007 from the UK to Australia, to Brisbane. At the time I came with my then wife and my daughter. About 5 years ago I moved to Caloundra after separating from my wife. My daughter is nearly 23 years old. She's practicing speech pathology in Melbourne. I'm an academic by trade, so I did a PhD in the UK. I do research and teach at a university in Brisbane. I live up here now. I'm really happy. You can see the outlook. I love living in Caloundra. I've got a little dog, Alfie, who is a bit of a friend or a good friend. And then I've repartnered with a lovely lady called Leanne, who's also from the same county as me in the UK, which is Yorkshire. So that's a little bit about me.
Nice. So with what we're about to talk about, can you kind of walk us through how that led to something that you're really passionate about and really deeply involved with? Yeah,
sure. So I guess, where the Connect Kids didn't come first. So I'm a mentor with Connect Kids, but I actually started with something called Pyjama Foundation, which is a very similar principle, which is to, mentor and give role models for children who have come from disadvantaged backgrounds. And I guess for me, and I do other things as well in my voluntary work, but I think that's what we're here for today, is the mentoring of young disadvantaged children. What pushed me or nudged me into it was that I consider that I came from a really very privileged background. I had and still have two loving parents and two loving brothers, and I had a good education. I had lots of opportunities, and I took those opportunities. But I wanted to put back into society and give some sort of service back. I guess the other thing that would be probably worth mentioning is that I went through several years of anxiety and depression, severe depression, which I was in denial about. And unfortunately, that led to self-medication. So in my case, it was alcohol. And so coming out of that, I realized that I could cope with my own traumas, and I understand that it might have negatively affected other ones close to me. But I felt privileged, and I felt that I had something to offer. I didn't think I could change the world. I wasn't there to, given a golden hammer, but I just wanted to give back and share my experiences and help others that just didn't have the same advantaged background as me.
I suppose like most of us adults today, we've had our own challenges with our upbringings as kids, and then the kids today, I can't imagine some of the challenges that they're facing today. So with this involvement with Connect Kids, can you kind of walk us through what the mentoring programs have meant for the kids that have been involved under these mentoring programs?
It's a great question, isn't it? Because I guess some of it I don't know, because I don't get I can only go on the feedback I get when I'm there. But what I can tell you is that I guess to be greeted by a youngster when you get to the door, and the excitement and their pleasure in their eyes, that's something that really is a telling story. But also the activities that I do with them, like playing footy in the garden or doing obstacle courses. I guess just inherently during that experience and seeing other children play and get fun. And sometimes they have this type of male role model missing in their life. And I think that sort of, that rough and tumble and playing footy is something.
Does it necessarily mean that they always need a male role model?
No. I think that's worth making clear that in my cases it has been, but no, it's not always. So, for example, young females get mentored, and so maybe they've got a female missing in their life, but it doesn't have to have a parent or a gender type parent missing. It could just be something that they just need a different sort of activity or different spin in their life.
So, with what you've seen throughout these meetings, I suppose, that you have with them, do you guys get to actually hear them tell their story in such a way where, you get a better understanding of what they're feeling, what they're experiencing, what it's meant for them?
It's another really good question, and I can answer it simply with no. But if I can just take the opportunity to expand on that, is that, and I guess there's 4, maybe 5 children in the past 8 or 9 years. They don't share their stories. For whatever reason, and that's part of the boundaries are not to interrogate them and ask questions, but if they want to talk about it, they can do. But no, it's something that they don't share.
Do you think it's probably something they should, or is it something to work towards?
I haven't really thought about whether it should or shouldn't be done, but I'm happy to give you my thoughts at the moment, and they may change, but at the moment, no, I don't. And that I think that I don't think there should be a prescriptive or a directive to, they should talk about it. I think there should be an opportunity and a very safe, like you talked about at the table, a safe and non-judgmental, non-threatening environment, which I hope I can create. But I don't think it should be a sort of a must. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, yep. Well, I think it's such a great program because I think for myself personally, I had great role models like my grandparents who raised me in a way that I got to learn about the responsibilities of the man's duty in the household to do all the planting vegetables and fishing and feeding the animals up in the farm. But I didn't have the side of my mental state when things got difficult, like heartbreaks, anxiety levels, depression, that I didn't understand. And for me, I wish that there were mentors that I could have looked up to and had that covered. So what do you think of the programs that they have today?
Yeah.
And is there enough of it?
Yeah. And I hear what you're saying, because while I was answering your previous question, I was thinking about the idea of, well, did I have it when I was a younger child, and should I have, and I missed out on it? And I hear exactly what you're saying about the idea of when we are in those teenage years or early 20s where we might need something. And I guess, I think the question is, the rhetorical question now is Connect Kids and Pyjama Foundation that forum for that, when there are so many other services available, like, child psychologists and counsellors and so on. And I have to say that I'm not a professional. I haven't got a background in psychology or psychiatry, and I'm there to offer a different type of service. However, if they do want to talk about it, I'm there too. But I hear what you're saying about the gap. That's something missing in our childhoods. But if I can just add to this as well, Tan, and I find this is something I'm reflecting on more and more as I'm getting older and my parents are. I think at the time, there may be gaps and what have you, but as I reflect now, I think about my own childhood and parents, and I see photographs, and they were loving and caring, and they were offering those skills and were around for them. And you take it for granted at the time, but it's only now that I'm really appreciating what was given and offered.
For someone that may be interested in wanting to mentor, what are some steps they could take to look into, a mentoring program?
Yeah. Well, I guess if people are contemplating considering it, obviously you need to think about the bit of time availability, and it doesn't take that much up. We're talking about an hour a week, an hour a fortnight, a couple of hours a fortnight. It's not a lot. But I guess for Connect Kids, then you just jump on the normal Google or Safari, whatever it is, and you search, and it's fairly clearly explained on how you take steps. The same with the Pyjama Foundation. But I think the process is pretty simple. You put an expression of interest in. There's this like a vetting process, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
It's not just for everyone. There's some form of vetting, and some are more formal than others. Like blue card and police checks and so on. But once those are done, it's just a case of matching. And then, so what the organisation, say Connect Kids, will do, they'll match the mentor with a mentee, and that's matched on. Like it may be a young lad who wants a male mentor, and obviously geographical location as well. So that's basically the process. And then they do like an induction, you do a few trials, and then just take it from there.
Wow. So so do you stay involved with both Pyjamas, and how do you find the time, mate?
Good question. I guess I find the time because I've got it. And I've got the time, and even if I haven't, I find it. But most of it's done in late afternoons or weekends. And so my week, I'm lucky at a stage of life, right? My daughter's grown up and independent. I live on my own. I am in a relationship, but I live on my own, and I just have the time. And I acknowledge, by the way, that some people might say it's all right for you, Neil, but some people just don't have that time. They're looking after kids, they're working 40, 50 hours. I get that as well. But I do encourage people, if you have got an hour or two a week, is to go and do it. And even though initially the motive is not for this, what I'm going to describe, I guess the experience and the pleasure one that gets from it is far outweighs the time that you give up or sacrifice. Yeah.
How long have you been involved with both the Connect Kids and Pyjamas?
Pyjama Foundation a bit longer, so about I'd say about 8 years now, and the Connect Kids about just a year and a half.
So what's something that you would like to see maybe in the next few years improved upon, or if you've got any ideas that you've been thinking about? Now's an opportunity for you to
well, I guess I do have a temptation or a tendency, to want to fix everything, and that's just me. I gather it's a male trait as well, but anyway, through Marcus Mission, which you're aware of, Tara, is that we're taught or recommended not to fix and find solutions. So to answer your question more specifically, I would love, and I acknowledge there may be things out there, and I know there are some happening, but I would love something outside of the school curriculum that could offer children, adolescents and children, the opportunity to learn non-academic based skills, like agency, resilience, emotional regulation. This is the thing we're flooded with as adults on the podcasts, and prescription ones and so on. But, I'm working on a little idea, which I alluded to offline, but something that I've already started preparing is something that a non-for-profit, something where children, even parents, can join in and listen to some sort of like modules, but also have workshops on this type of thing.
Yeah, it sounds pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And look, hey, this is a great place where people can kind of reach out and connect with you. So I suppose if there's something that you've been thinking about and you want to kind of share with us, also could you just touch up as you mentioned Marcus Missions,
yeah,
just a little bit about them as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so Marcus Mission is, again, something I came um, aware of just as I started to come out of my self-medication addiction. And so Marcus Mission is a men-only group, which is originated from suicide prevention and mental health through the founder, John Morgan. In essence, it's a opportunity for men to learn a little bit more about emotional regulation, conflict, relationships. But one of the other things, similar to Connect Kids and Pyjama Foundation, we do have a mentor-mentee matchup. So, for example, at the moment, I'm a mentor for an adult, and there's an opportunity for people to work with another bloke, almost like shoulder-to-shoulder friendship. It's not real. We're not counselors, we're not psychiatrists, but just someone else that they bond with, they can keep in touch with and connect with over once a week, twice a week. So that's the Marcus Mission setup. But if I can just share something with you, and that was that, and I don't mind disclosing this, but when I came out of my addiction, I just wanted to help everyone else in that situation. What can I do? And I realized relatively quickly that everyone's individual, and just because it worked for me, it may not work for everyone else. But although I joined Marcus Mission with the intention of helping others, I found over the past 4 or 5 years, it's been so beneficial for me. I learn at least something important every workshop. I learn from other people, and it's a really nice, safe environment for us to share stories. I've cried myself at sessions. I've sat with men crying. And for someone who came from a rugby, military, boarding school and two-brother background, we were taught not to cry. And so for me to sit there and being, it's embracing, and it's an honor to be in that environment.
If there's someone that's listening or watching, and they're possibly thinking about wanting to join, but I think, maybe it's not for me. What's something you could encourage them to look into moving forward? Yeah,
and another good question. John and I talk about this regularly because we're conscious, and I was apprehensive about joining. My first workshop, I remember it. I was anxious. I was apprehensive. So what can I say is that dip your toe in the water. Have a go. We do Zoom online workshops if you're not quite ready for the face-to-face. We do face-to-face workshops the last Friday of every month. But it sounds patronizing, and I completely acknowledge that. And we know, by the way, some people say, yeah, we're going to come, and they don't turn up. And we acknowledge that everyone has their own reasons for not coming. But I guess what I say is dip your toe in the water, come along, and it's one of those things that's like a lived experience. And until you've done it, we can tell you it's great and do this, but until you've been there and went, wow. So have a go, and then come to a couple of sessions. And if it's not for you, fine. There's no judgment. But it's one of those things that just sit there and you don't have to interact. You can just come and be an observer. But yeah, do recommend coming along. And it's a great group of blokes. And like I say, it's safe, non-threatening, and non-judgmental. One thing I'm always conscious of is this idea of people's perceptions of others. And, I'm sitting here talking, and, I've got this saying, which is our opinions are, everything's neutral until it passes through the filter of perception. Okay. And, I did have a good education. I had a loving family and a good background. But for those of you, whether you've had that or not, everyone's got something that they can either share. And that sharing may just be therapeutic for oneself. They may be able to share, but they may also be able to help others. And something that, we talked about, didn't we? This idea of it could just be 10 seconds or 15 seconds of someone sharing something that helps someone else. So let's say, for example, the self-medication addiction. I thought very naively at the time I was the only one, right? I think there's denial there. I mean, I knew there was others. But you do feel isolated. So if someone shares their story, like they've had a close relative suicide, or they've had a close relative leave a relationship, that in itself is sharing that there's others out there. But on top of that, I guess the narrative and the discussion that we have, again, people might just take a little gold nugget and go, wow, I've never heard that before. And we've got lots of books, haven't we? Right? Yeah. We've got lots of books about do this, do that. I find it interesting. You go into a library, and I've borrowed this from someone who you know, but you go into a library, and that is that you see lots of books on self-help. Help me. But what about helping others? all right, or you don't see many books on that. But the point I want to make there is that even though it's not the original motive to do it, it's an amazing experience if one helps other people. The pleasure we get from it. It could be just pushing someone's car. You know that feeling when you drop some money in someone's box if they're they're busking, or you help someone push their car. That feeling is amazing. Absolutely. And so I just wanted to say that and frame it in the way that I think everyone has got a story to tell and something to share. And we'd be surprised the number of people that would be able to take that information, and a bit like a toolbox, right? We've got a toolbox, haven't we? And I may not know how to use a power drill or a hammer or what have you, but if I hear someone else describe what that tool is and how they use it, that's a really applied way of taking it home.
And then you get to take action, and then you realize, wow.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the hard step. Again, if I want to make clear that that step between knowledge and action is not always easy. I might say I'm going to be less judgmental. The next day I go and judge someone. But this is not about overnight success. It's not about fixing. It's about progressive change. No one's looking definitely for success. It's just about improving and bettering oneself without aiming or striving and being aspirational about I'm going to be the best dad, I'm going to be the best husband, I'm going to be the best son. No one wants perfection. It's hard to strive for.
Hey guys, thanks again for tuning back in. And if you're finding value in today's show or are interested in wanting to find out more about how you can get involved with the mentoring program, I'll leave the details in the description below. But also, if you could do us a favor, please hit that subscribe button, like and share with someone you think could possibly benefit from it. Okay then, so let's get back to it.
I suppose there's different steps of what works for someone to want to take that next step. Like for me, I kind of discovered it on my own and I went with it. Are there any other steps that you can think of other than like what I've just mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind, if I can just unpack, I think you've said two really revealing things there and really important. If you don't mind, this idea of one size doesn't fit all. Like, we know from medicine, medical trials that, that medicine doesn't work for everyone. And so why should some therapy or some advice or suggestions from other people? So if I can share an anecdote with you, that the day I stopped drinking alcohol, it wasn't far from here, by the way, and I've told this story in public before. I looked in my parents' eyes, and it's quite an emotional story for me, but I looked in their eyes. They came down all the way from their home they live over here, but they came to see me and said, we're here to help. And they've said that in the past, by the way. They've said it lots and lots of times. I just wasn't in a position. But I looked in their eyes, and I saw the pain in two parents' eyes, and I looked at that and I said, I can't do this to them anymore. Now, I'm not just telling you that to reveal my own personal story, but the day after I stopped drinking, the reason I'm mentioning is that can you imagine if I went out and said to everyone, oh, what you need to do is to stop your addiction is to go and do what I did. No, that's not the way to do it. So I just wanted to raise that point about what worked for me may not work for other people. And it's one size doesn't fit all. Do I want to add anything else to what you've said? I think the only, and I'm always conscious of this, that it can be patronizing, but people, sometimes we want things to happen straight away and overnight. And, things do take time. And I know from my own experience, and I know from speaking to adult mentees, is that when you say that to them, they go, that's all right for you. You're all right, blah, blah. But things do work out eventually. Not for everyone, but if they do, it takes time. Yeah. And I think we are living in a bit of a culture of quick fix, and I guess going back to the one size fits all is that, we listen to podcasts or read books about have a nice bath in the morning, go for a run, do some meditation, eat a fruit smoothie. That's not going to work for everyone. Do whatever suits you and try not to compare. If you do a nice bath and a meditation, it doesn't work. You're not a failure. Have a go at things, try them out, and maybe don't expect things to happen overnight.
If people want to kind of get involved with the different organizations that you've been involved with, where can they and how?
Yeah, so I guess but the all the details, I mean, obviously people can contact me and John Morgan about Marcus Mission, but there's a website. You type in Marcus Mission, there's what we're about, how do we contact people, who do I contact, there's the details about the workshops, Zoom and face-to-face, and the same with Pyjama Foundation and Connect Kids, just type it in.
Okay.
And the teams in all of those are really efficient and good at contacting you and going through the processes. So that's probably the best suggestion I can give.
Nice. And I'll also add those details and the links in the description below that everyone can
Sure.
connect in one way or another.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing to add, Taz, is that there's lots of other organisations. There's a whole group of people, non-for-profit mainly, doing really good things in this space. So it may be that that's not in your area or it doesn't suit you, the practical bits. There's lots of other things. So how did I come across Marcus Mission? I just typed in volunteering on the Sunshine Coast, and things popped up left, right and centre. And some I followed up, some I didn't. So yeah.
Wow, nice. That's cool. And look, to all you other local charities out there, I'm coming for you so you can share your story here on the podcast. And I suppose before we wrap up, can you leave us with something that on a positive note for everyone to think about?
I'm hoping that there were some positive things in there, but I guess there's a saying here that I'd like to read out, and I think it resonates with lots of different settings. But if I can just read a couple of things which relate to what we've just talking about. Yeah,
absolutely.
This is one I particularly like, and I think it relates to a little bit about emotional regulation and worrying and anxiety. But worrying and anxiety, especially about uncertainty, are my expensive habits. However, I've never purchased anything of value with them. This is this idea that we do worry. I still do, but I used to worry a lot and be negative. And some of these things will never happen. I think it's the Mark Twain that says something like, all the things I worried about never happened. And this sounds a bit prescriptive, but I think part of the negative anxiety that we inflict we put on ourselves. I know there's external factors, societal factors, I get that, but sometimes we put it on ourselves. And I guess the only thing I'd want to say is that be comfortable with your own mood state and how you are. Try not to worry about what other people think. It's difficult to do, but try not to worry about how we're being judged. Just be who you want to be. If there's opportunities to help other people, go for it. But everyone has a purpose and value in life. Everyone. No matter what your background is, where you come from, how you were born, how many parents you had, what have you. Everyone has a value. We've all got a purpose. And that's something that I've learned through Buddhism, which is, and I hope I've practiced it in the past, but this idea of that I'm no different to anyone else. I'm not better. I'm not worse. Okay, I just want to be of equal value. And the other thing is, I don't know whether it's a spiritual thing or what have you, but I have got a desire to help other people, and that's not for everyone. I understand that. And like you said earlier, if people can reach out and offer their services, I think volunteering is reducing in Australia. I've seen the ABS, Australian Bureau of Statistics, on this, that people are becoming less volunteers. But if you have a bit of time, go for it.
Yeah. And I suppose one of the other things that I just wanted to mention is our awareness to some of these things we can't pick up on. And that's probably something that could help us recognize it more often when we seem to struggle and we start to judge ourselves.
I get that. Yeah, that's a really good one. Self-awareness, isn't it? This idea of... and that's easier said than done as well, right? When you're distracted through work pressure, family pressure, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, coherence is not a word that comes into your space, right? It's actually lack of coherence and denial. I completely agree with you that self-awareness, and that's something we work on as well. That self-awareness is, and I do this now. I actually did this while you were introducing the podcast right at the beginning. I actually was aware about my own emotions, how I was feeling. I actually tried to gauge what you were feeling as well. And so self-awareness is a really, I think it's an important skill. But again, it's like, shooting a basketball or playing golf. You're not going to get it overnight.
If there's one or two tips you could share with us that you think, could possibly be something someone could look into, as something they could practice themselves, or
Yeah.
maybe this is worth exploring. Maybe
Yeah.
what's one or
I'll
two.
have a think about it now while I'm talking. It's interesting. I did a podcast for someone on weight loss, and they get a question at the end: "Can you give us tips?" And my answer was, "I try and stay away from tips because it sounds patronising." But I guess I've probably said some of these already, if not all of them. So apologies if they're repetitive. But I just in terms of tips of helping others, or just general tips.
General tips, or
Okay.
whichever one you feel more comfortable in.
Alrighty. Gratitude and gratefulness is something that I have found important, and I know other people have. So it may not work for you, it may do, but I do this every morning. I stand over on the balcony and I look out, and I first of all be grateful for the view. That's the first thing I do, and I can see the Glasshouse Mountains the other side. Then I stand there and look out and say, I am grateful to be here today, and also I'm grateful for how I got here and all the other things. So gratitude and gratefulness is, I think it doesn't prevent us completely, exclusively, but it helps towards not taking things for granted. You know, we can look at someone in a wheelchair walk past, or we can look at someone lying in with cardboard boxes and go, "Oh, I'm really glad I've got a home." But rather than trying to do that just when it happens, there's a saying: why be wait to be punched in the face before you do something about it? I think gratitude and gratefulness will be the one thing amongst a few other things that has really worked for me. And I think this is, by the way, not compounded. That's the wrong word to do, but it's affirmed or confirmed by the work that I do with Connect Kids and Pyjama Foundation and Marcus Mission, right? Because you're surrounded by people, that you go, wow, I am grateful that I had two parents. I am grateful that I had a good education. So that exposure to other people constantly does help. So I think gratefulness is the thing, but I guess if I can if I can just read this one, if we can just finish on one, it's a poem or a saying that I came across, and I think, I'll go for this one. All right, I haven't prepared this in terms of which one I go for, but if I can just read it out, because I think it translates and transfers to many, many different areas. A single moment of understanding is so poisonous that it makes us forget the 100 lovable moments spent together within a minute. And that's why I choose understanding, forgiveness, and resilience to cherish our love that outweighs any discord. Our connection is measured by how we rise above confusion and conflict. So if everyone wants to play that back and listen to it again, they can without me repeating. But I think there's so many different areas that we can pick on. We're very good at focusing on the negative. I might fall out with my girlfriend and dwell on it and ruminate on it. But that doesn't, it's about the whole package. It doesn't mean that that's the, a negative all the time. So I guess if I can just frame that in a way that things will go wrong in our lives, things will happen, nothing's permanent, and yes, it's challenging and hard to cope with them at the time. But if we can just put it in one big package and say, for some people it is. I am lucky to be alive today. They wake up in the morning, get out of bed, I'm really lucky. And so it's that gratitude and gratefulness about lots of things. So,
wow, I can absolutely relate to you too with gratification, waking up in the morning and being appreciative to what you have, where you're at, and all the things that happen for you. But also some of the other areas of for people to really get a better understanding of themselves, like these services that you volunteer to be mentors for. Some of the areas that I think people could also really benefit from and look into.
True. Yeah, true.
And get into volunteering, man. I know how it feels. It's so amazing to be a part of something where you get to feel invigorated by making a difference. It doesn't have to be a huge thing that you're doing to make a difference for someone, but the little things, they count. They matter to someone.
And again, it comes back to that conversation we had earlier about one size doesn't fit all, and it's not for me. But until you have that lived experience, and we talked about the starfish story, didn't we? The bloke on the beach is throwing starfish back in the water from the sand, and someone says, "What are you doing that for? There's thousands on this beach." And he said, well, if I just save one starfish, I can go home and do my job. And that's the, you know, the look in someone's eyes. Like I also, it's temporary on hold, but I do the sleep bus, which is the homeless sleep bus in Maroochydore. I'm a caretaker on that. You know, when you see someone get off in the morning, the next morning, feeling a bit refreshed, and they've had a good night's sleep and it's safe, and they look in your eyes and say, I really appreciate it, thank you. Even though you don't do it for that reason, it's very, very empowering.
Oh, man. Neil, look, I appreciate you joining me and sharing your story and experiences of what you've gone through, what you've done, and what you continue to do. So thank you again for joining me at the round table.
No, my pleasure, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.